Hello, I am Laura Treviño Lozano, a PhD candidate at the Faculty of Liberal Arts and Sciences at the University of Greenwich in London. I am also an early-stage researcher with the SAPIENS network. Sustainability embodies not just ecological and economic concerns, but also the safeguard of human dignity and rights. Sustainability matters to me because I aim for a world where people can live in freedom. However, we don't live in such a world. We live in a world that has universally banned slavery, yet where slavery persists. In fact, we live in a world where more people are enslaved than during the era where such inhuman practice was legal, when it was allowed to trade and own human beings. Part of this slavery problem, but also of human exploitation more widely, is found deeply rooted in the ways in which businesses and their supply chains operate across our world. In these supply chains, people are forced to work for little to no pay, often in harsh and degrading conditions with no real hope of breaking free from the cycle of debt and exploitation. Children as young as 5 years old are involved in hazardous and physically demanding work. Workers receive no minimum wages or are forced to work overtime. Thousands of goods are sourced and manufactured by individuals in those conditions in developing countries and then sold to consumers in developed nations. Amongst these consumers, we find governments in Europe who often buy goods tinted by workers' abuse because sustainability is not a matter of their concern, or at best, because they do not know how to buy sustainably. But buying in a sustainable fashion matters to me, and contributing into the ways in which it can be possible in procurement practice is the main focus of my research. My research contributes to address exploitation in global supply chains by looking into the ways in which public procurement can be used as a tool to make sure that minimum labor rights, like decent working conditions and the provision to forced labor and child labor, are respected by businesses across supply chains and across borders. Awareness and legal regulation on social considerations in public procurement has increased, yet there is little knowledge on the opportunities and the limitations of implementation. My thesis fills this gap of how law is and could be applied in practice. One of my aims is to contribute to law reform. By filling this gap and achieving this aim, my thesis responds to a current need that the EU is experiencing in sustainability-related law reform and lawmaking. The EU has issued its Green Deal policy, and there will be a need to review a series of legal frameworks, including that of public procurement. EU lawmakers need to understand whether modifying procurement norms like making human rights criteria mandatory has any sort of impact in the actual practice. The findings of my research will inform law reform to be able to build on a legal framework that is fit for labor rights protection, particularly a legal framework that can be implemented on the ground and it's effective to prevent forced labor and facilitate decent work of individuals who are part of government supply chains. With my research, I aim to contribute to the world I want to live in, where people are able to live in freedom and dignity.